Warning, this podcast contains blasphemy, heresy, and profanity. Proceed at your own risk.
Say no prayers for me, 'cause I'm exactly where I want to be. Yeah, I'm a sinner through and through, and I'll be waiting in hell for you.
Welcome to the Skeptical Satanist.
I'm your host, Slew. So I wrote something up a while ago, and I've tried to find it. I can't find it anywhere. But it was about tolerating the intolerant, or tolerating your oppressor, and how you shouldn't. So I guess I'm gonna have to just kind of wing this now, because I can't. I had a copy online somewhere. I had physical copies of this, and I can't find them anywhere now. So here we go, I guess. I was going to have somebody on, this was probably before Trump's first presidency, too. It was just crazy, the amount of people that you run into that think that you should tolerate things, I don't know, out of being nice or kind or whatever. People think that's the only way that anything gets changed, even though most of the time people just get walked on when they're kind like that. People that are unkind, I think that there's a lot of damage done in this thought process, and there's people like I mentioned in the previous thing where I jokingly refer to people as yoga hippies or whatever. That was kind of along the same lines. It seems like it's the same people that are in these yoga groups, that are in these, it's like they get away from Christianity, and then instead of ever researching what was wrong with Christianity to begin with, or the actual logic and reasoning behind it, or I don't know, lack thereof, or the critical thinking skills required for that mindset. I think you have to analyze those things when you get out of something you realize isn't good for you. Why wasn't it good for me? What was I using in this that was harmful, or what was harmful in this ideology? And it seems like there's this group of people that just do not ever do that. And a lot of it's people that never actually bought into their religion to begin with, and just kind of didn't really even deconvert any. They just kind of let go of it because it wasn't even really there or a big part of their lives to begin with. So when it comes to somebody like me, I had grown up in a religion where I had very much been making that almost my entire identity. It's like I had to do some really, I had to break down a lot of things coming out of Christianity and figure out why this had happened, and well, what now? What if Bible isn't the answer? Then now what? And what was wrong with the answers there? And so, where I had broke all that stuff down far before I became a Satanist, and during my whole deconversion process, becoming an atheist. I guess people just don't do that sometimes. They just skip that step and they move on to the next thing, and usually it's like, oh, well, Buddhism or this thing or that thing. These are different philosophies, different religions on the opposite end of the world. They aren't, or they're, I don't know, the attraction to it of them promoting more peaceful attitudes and things like that, I guess, has something to do with it as well. But it's really frustrating because then they just turn a blind eye to the negative sides of their own beliefs and stuff. They just cling to beliefs, and they don't ever, it's like they cling and reject, and there's no analysis of any of it in between. With that comes this idea that, oh, we should all love each other, we should all be peaceful, we should all do all, that's all great in a perfect society and perfect circumstances, I guess. I don't know. It would be great if things worked that way. If you could just give enough love and understanding to change everything around you. But a lot of times that just tends to cater to abuse and neglect and things like that. Taking up those stances kind of helps enable those things, because now you've got to show love to everybody. You got the abuser. Well, what about them? What about what they're going through? And instead of focusing on the victims of the abuse and stuff, it seems like it actually just dismisses it. And I've seen this happen a lot with people that are in these groups. Like I said, it's kind of the meditation groups and things like that. It seems the ones that try to go after the Buddhism thing, they kind of go to this. Oh my God, talking to one of them, sometimes you get too deep. If somebody's too deep into it, they want to talk in parables constantly, and that's annoying as fuck. You can't have an actual real conversation with them. They just want to go tell you about an example of a thing. Then instead of, like, I don't know, you try to point out flaws of the example of it not actually being the thing we're talking about, then you just go down the route of another parable. And it's like, it's just endless parables of shit that just doesn't make things true or right or anything at the end of the day. Daniel Dennett had a word for some of these things that were kind of meant to be deep, thoughtful little phrases or ideas and stuff, and the parables and things but whenever it's just at surface level, whenever you actually try to think about it too much, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, that doesn't make much sense, really, or that isn't really that deep at all and doesn't really justify anything, or it doesn't really make anything true or not. And here we are still with the issue that we had at hand to begin with. And he called them deepities. When you get into groups like that are more concerned about their deepities and things than any kind of reasoning or critical thinking, they seem to think that those things are on equal ground of some sort, that it's still really based off of faith. Faith-based thinking is still being used, whether it's that's the thing. Like, for me, it was like, why would I use the same tool, faith, to justify anything if it is justifying just everything? Why would that doesn't help me determine whether what I'm believing is true or not, or whether it's valuable or not, or anything. So it can enable really bad ideologies to be adhered to and not ever really thought out. And it causes people to, I don't know, this could be viewed as maybe nitpicking or whatever, but I'll give like a small example or lesser example of it on along the lines of what I'm talking about, the taking up things like thin blue line or things of that nature, and not recognizing that, oh, that was basically stealing a movement's steam in order to reinforce authoritarian beliefs. But the person, doing all this stuff, the thin blue line thing, never recognizes that as being something that was harmful. It's just, oh yeah, these people need supported too. But not whenever the whole idea of the Blue Lives Matter thing, the thin blue line thing, was just to steal the light away from actual justice and the lack of ethics and morals within these systems that we're reinforcing whenever you do that, whenever you start up a thin blue line thing just to combat something that's, dude, this was over, minorities make up like 13% of the population here. Why would you need to steal anything from a movement that's just looking for equality? And it makes up 13% of the population. Unless you're a bully, like, why would you do that? Like in school, if there was 13% of the school had, I don't know, brown hair or whatever, the rest didn't. The majority had blonde. And now suddenly it's like the brown-haired people created a flag or whatever to represent them, so that they felt like they were seen and kind of heard, because they weren't being seen or heard. And they weren't really allowed for the longest time to do the same things. They were told what to do, never able to do things on their own. Whatever. Like, you go down you put things into similar circumstances and then look at them from an outside perspective and see if I use these same tools, if I use these same rules, if I do these things and put this in a similar scenario, and it looks weird as shit, or it seems bigoted, or it seems illogical, then why am I doing it? Why would I stand for this? Why would I endorse this? And it's just cluelessness, like this buddy system thing of, oh yeah, but I have a friend, or I know this person or that person that's a cop. They aren't that bad, or they aren't, but are they standing up for people? Are they trying to get the system readjusted, taken down? Are they trying to defund things that are harmful to our society that's being enforced? No, most of those people have quit already. So I don't know. I mean, that's where the all cops are bastards thing comes into play, And the ones that won't argue with it are usually the good people, just like all of the other things. Whenever there's something harmful being called out about men, and you have 60 fucking men stand up and go, oh, not all men. Okay, just sit the fuck down. The people, all the other men here that are seeing the shit that's going on that aren't saying a fucking word about it when it's being called out is because they know it doesn't apply to them. So if you're the one standing up screaming about it, seems like maybe it applies to you, maybe you're protesting a bit too much. It's kind of where the cancel culture thing comes to a head as well. All the ones screaming about cancel culture and shit are the ones usually doing really shitty things that are being called out. So I don't think white supremacists, Black Lives Matter people, fascists in general, authoritarian, people that are pushing authoritarian agendas and everything to make profit and the wealthy to make them high priority over top of everyone else, which is basically what all of this has done. It's elitism, it's the same thing that the Nazis did. They based it off the U.S. So sure, the Republicans are really good at showing where they're at with all of this shit, but then you've got the Democrats that have helped reinforce the things as well on their side. You've got the Clintons that helped to whittle away at things earlier on whenever it came to privacy laws and things, upping police force, basically helping the police in controlling the black community. That's what his answer was, rather than trying to reform the police, rather than trying to adjust the way that they were handling things with the LA riots and all of that. No, the answer was throw more police at it, which is, again, the answer is authoritarianism. It's to add more control over this situation, and instead of trying to refocus on what the elites have been doing to the lower 99% of the country. No, that's not the focus. The focus is on everybody else, the smaller the minorities. And in that, that's 13% of the population. That's where they fuel the fire at. That's how they pit people against each other and are able to have a scapegoat for things and all of it. It's the propaganda. And both parties have used that in their own way. The Democrats pretend that they're on the side of the people and everything, and the minorities and everything, and all of these groups, and then they turn around in election season, they get in, making all these promises, they don't follow through with the promises, then they cry that the other, oh, well, the Republicans aren't playing fair again, and then Republicans get into office, and, oh, see, I told you so, the Republicans are going to fuck you again, and then they get back into office and promising that they're going to unfuck you, and then they don't, and Biden, how many things did he reverse that Trump did? Like, sure, he kind of brought the economy back around, but that's just saying rich fucks made money again. How, the thing is, that isn't, the GDP, none of that is a good measure of the average everyday person and how their life is. There's other things that factor into quality of life overall for people, and that unit of measurement does not reflect any of that. There are other units of measurement for quality of life that are better ideas of how your country's doing. The stocks do not measure that. And, the economy doesn't really, the GDP doesn't measure that either. But getting back to tolerating the intolerant, this kind of goes along with the Charlie Kirk incident and all of that. Like, should people just tolerate that intolerable fuck? I don't think that they should have, or even in his death have to afterwards, just because the guy lived and had a family. Like, that's dumb. It's dumb in my opinion. I don't think it should be tolerable for people to get fucked over by a group of other people and then have to cater to the other people because freedom of speech or because freedom of this or freedom of that. Why? They have made it to where they are making another group suffer. And this is something that was fucked up. I had a comedian add me a while ago on Facebook. He wasn't like a huge name or anything that anybody would know, I don't think. But he was big enough to go in. He's, tours a good bit, does different things. But he kept trying to get me to buy his shit and, I don't know, help advertise his shit too. And I kept putting it off, and I didn't have any money for it anyways at the time, and I was getting ready to buy a couple of his episodes or something that he had on, I don't know, one of those groups where you can subscribe to podcasts and stuff. And then he had made a post, and it was something to the effect of, why are these people arguing over pronouns when there are bigger things at hand, or something to that effect. Like, that he was basically minimizing people's gender and pronouns and trans issues as well in what he was saying, and he made this off-the-cuff thing. And I don't know that he left it up, because I think he got more flack than just from me over it. But it's just telling of, like, who this dude was, rather than, and I don't believe, like, I think it's one thing to joke about some things. I think other things can be, all things can really kind of be joked about if it's done the right way. And whenever you're tipping your hand a bit and showing that you've got a little bit more ill intent behind the things that you're saying, I think it's a different scenario. And I think that's what that was how it appeared, how it was coming across to me early on. So here's the thing with his idea here. If there's an issue, so he's saying that there are bigger issues in this country that need addressed, which is absolutely true. There are tons of bigger issues than what a person wants to be called happening in this country. Now, who's accountable for that? Is it the person minding their own business, just, telling people casually as they don't, that, I just want to be called this, or correcting people with their pronouns, just telling them what their pronouns are? Why is that a big deal? If anybody cisgendered got upset, or didn't even get upset, if you misidentified somebody, which happens, because it isn't a perfect world, and there aren't these cookie cutter genders like these people like to make it out. You, like, as a kid, you don't see those things as clear cut and everything as what these adults do. So, this becomes an embarrassing thing for parents a lot of times, where a kid will go up and misgender somebody or say something very blunt, and if it got corrected and it was a cisgendered person, it's just, oh, I'm so sorry, they didn't know any better or whatever, and blah blah blah. And it would be that would be fine, right? But whenever it's somebody outside of that cisgender role saying, just correcting a person and saying, that's not my pronouns, I go by this. That's not my name, I go by this. And even if that was a cisgender person saying that they changed their nickname, they don't go by that anymore, they want to go by something new, that still wouldn't be a big deal. So who is this joke attacking then? Who is it after? Apparently, it isn't after the cisgendered people, so it's picking on minority groups over things that they can't even really help. It's just who they are. And in that example, instead of him thinking that the bigots should just tolerate the people they're being intolerant of, his solution is to have the people that are already being oppressed by this ideology and in our communities and everything due to bigotry being normalized systemically. His answer is to take those people and place the blame on them for not just tolerating it and getting along and just shrugging it off. That is the most backward thinking. Like, how on one end of things you're saying that we need to be able to solve these bigger issues and stuff that's at hand, right? Getting back to that, the original thing that he said, in order to solve big issues, there's only so many things we can do as individuals. We can do small things, we can solve small issues ourselves, and sure, there are things like that are simple that can be done. But then for bigger issues, usually we have to pull resources and come together as communities and everything to achieve bigger goals. That's how things work. You see it, that's taxes, that's everything. That's literally everything. And in communal circumstances, that's where those things are necessary for people to get along in their communities and do things together in order to survive. That's just throughout history. That's how things work. So things like accepting diversity and being inclusive of everybody and all of those things, those concepts, those things are productive towards bigger goals and achieving bigger things and coming together to do bigger things. Whenever there are communities that are against coming together, like because of bigotry, so they are against the people that are trans or that are not going by the pronouns they approve of, or whatever stupid little thing that they've nitpicked about somebody's personal life that they have no business even concerning themselves with. Those groups of people are directly against working together and doing the bigger goal thing. You can't achieve things with people like that are looking to push people away for minor differences like that. Now, that's where it's really just backward. It's you're saying we should take the side of the like it doesn't even make logical sense there. Like you're taking the side of the people that don't want to work with other people so that you can get them on board with the things for the bigger goal, but you're yelling at the person that wants to do the bigger things because the person that doesn't want to do the bigger things with those people is mad at them. I think I got that right. It still doesn't make any sense, right? Like you're taking up the side of the people that are pushing people out, that are not inclusive. They want only a few people to benefit from things, and you're hedging your bets that you aren't going to be pushed out with those other people and you're going to be in with those ones. Like, if you're a decent fucking human being with good morals and ethics and stuff, this doesn't make any sense at all. And if you aren't brainwashed into that thinking, it shouldn't make any sense to you either, I don't think. Like, unless you're falling in line with the bigots, the fascists, the elitists, the authoritarians. And that's where we get with this toxic kind of peace and love bullshit that comes from some of the people that consider themselves left or left of center, or the ones that consider themselves centrists even. It's weird because they think that they're left-leaning because they're liberal, and they just aren't far from right. Like they aren't far from the right authoritarian agenda bullshit. They aren't that far off from it because they keep making excuses for it. As long as you keep excusing bullies and their behaviors, and you normalize those things and tell people they just need to love them more, and they just need to cater to them more, and they just need to shut up about it, and they just need to just go along with it, and oh, why are you making a big deal? Dude, like right now, the state of this country is perfect proof of that not working. And right now we need union reps and union organizers and shit to step the fuck up on the outskirts of just their skills for their job and everything, and start implementing these things into the communities, because we need to have resistance movements with these types. And the unions could be doing the job that they did a long time ago and shutting the country down like it needs to be. It's not enough to just for the senators or the congressmen to shut things down. We need more than that. All that's doing is fucking up all of the funding for public sources, which is good for a limited amount of time until it starts affecting all of the people you're supposed to be representing, which, you know, it already is. And it's amazing because I keep seeing these things where they've interviewed congressmen that are Democrats in particular, and they're like, there was an article like a few months ago, oh, our heads are on the chopping block now. Oh, they want us to retaliate. No, they think we should just be able to, that we should be willing to put our lives on the line. Dude, you've put how many lives on the line already by not trying to represent the people you're supposed to be representing? You decided to represent elitists over top of people that were struggling, families and everything. You've killed many of them off by forcing them off of Medicaid. You've killed many of them off by ignoring struggles of the middle class, or the working class rather, because the middle class gets defined as anything from like 20 $20,000 a year up to fucking $500,000 a year. That's crazy to think that those two wages are even in the same ball field, but that's what they anything between those two has been used to be considered middle class. And which I think that ends up muddying the waters, because then people think they're on the same playing field. The person making $200,000 a year or whatever is looking down at the person not making that and going, oh, well, why don't you just take money out of your savings and just pay those things off? Or why don't you take that vacation money and do things with that to get out of your debt situation? Or it's just this cluelessness of, oh, we'll just go to work, but you're barely able to make bills, and you're having to fucking rely on assistance and things. And then sometimes you're stuck in the middle, working so hard and everything and doing all of these things and taking on 2 jobs or 3 jobs. And then it still isn't enough, because now you're getting more taxes taken out. And now you don't qualify for assistance anymore. So now you're having to pay more out of pocket for things. Expenses like SNAP being taken away, and you having to pay for food out of pocket. That's $600 now suddenly a month or more, a couple thousand maybe every month that you're not able to adequately make up for, because minimum wage has been stalled for so long in this country. Like, minimum wage should be, what, $30? If it was the equivalent of when it got started, it would be like $30 an hour right now or more. But classism is another form of bigotry that these elitists keep utilizing, and it's the next best thing to slavery that they had before on their side, where they could just exploit free labor constantly. Now it's, we'll just exploit the working class to where they aren't, able to do anything. We can't take advantage of people and just not pay them anything, but we'll pay them as little as possible, and then we won't increase their wages, and we'll just keep saying that inflation is causing these issues, and then we'll shift the blame back on the working class and say, oh, look over there, though. They keep getting these small wage increases every fucking decade or so. That's why your prices are going up, even though the prices are going up constantly every year, and the wages aren't. But you know whose wages are going up every year? The CEO's wages. The corporate people actually owning these industries and everything. Those wages never stop going up. I mean, Donald Trump right now, the last that I checked, he might make more than that now, but it was somewhere around, like, the price of a car, like $30,000 a day, I want to say. It could be an hour or something ridiculous, but I had it figured out at one time, broken down into wages. If he had wages like every working class person does, just for sitting on his ass, he gets paid basically $30,000 a day. That's some people's wages for a year, just being made in a day for doing nothing. But they'll spread propaganda about the working class people not wanting to work and not wanting to do anything and taking advantage of the system, and all of these, what they make it out to be like luxuries, just getting food assistance or whatever to just barely get by. But then those, Trump with his yachts and his fucking golf courses and all of his extravagant fucking bullshit, that's justifiable because he's a smart businessman, even though he just inherited his money and made something out of it. It's so much easier to make businesses, if you just dish out a bunch of money to a bunch of different sources, to a bunch of different possibilities of businesses taking off, that's easy money. You put your losses on your taxes and shit, you get your tax return back for the shit that you didn't fucking make any profit on. The ones that you did, they might take off into successful businesses or might do well for a few years, and then if they aren't doing well after that, then you can just bankrupt them or sell them off and start over again. Money makes money in this country. But I don't think that there's any reason to tolerate these intolerant people, the bigots and shit at the top, that are trying to force their way onto everybody to where they can just make more money and take advantage of everybody and put them in a position to where they are afraid or not capable of defending themselves or having any sort of actual equality to the quality of living. You force a population into begging for crumbs constantly while people are living lavishly at the top and taking advantage of those people. Eventually something's going to break. It's feudalism that's been done throughout history time and time again, and eventually the people being oppressed realize they outnumber the people that are oppressing them, and shit doesn't stay that way very long. And unfortunately, it's stayed that way too long in this country, and we're seeing this big divide. And we're seeing all the subtle shit suddenly being spoken about more bluntly, more, I don't know, you get to see more of the, they're saying the quiet parts out loud now. They're the trans issues, the racism and shit, like, it is getting more and more blunt. They keep signaling to their white supremacists more and more, these little dog whistles all over the place constantly. I mean, for fuck's sake, they keep testing the waters to the point of sig heiling and fucking taking over cities and shit. Like, it's right in your face, and the thing is, there's still people on the right and the centrists and the ones in the center left that keep on with this thing of, like, they're in complete denial about where we are in history right now, with it repeating itself. And they keep thinking if they lick the boot, kiss the ring, do all the things, and put on a show for the rich, that they're going to be spared or something, or that things will just work their way out. But it isn't going to happen that way. It's never happened that way. And things are just going to get worse. They might be a little bit better if we get a Democrat in again, but, like, even if we ever do that again, there is so much shit to untangle at this point, and they have no plans of actually untangling shit and trying to fix the things going wrong that Trump is breaking. Constantly. They didn't do it the last time that Trump got out of office. They won't do it this time. They've proven time and time again that they're just concerned with running the person that is slightly less bigoted than their opposing party, but they still want to ride that line so that they can catch a few bigots for voters. They think they'll never get the votes if they don't promote just a tiny bit of bigotry or elitism or whatever. But the truth is, that's where the money for their campaigns comes from, so that's why they really don't want to rock the boat with that shit, because whenever you look at the polls and everything, we aren't that far off on a lot of subjects. It's just all this propaganda we've been fed since we were kids. Shit about work ethic that has to be, like, come on, that's propaganda. Like, what, do CEOs get called out on their work ethic? Not until shit just has completely exploded, right? Like, they might end up in court and shit for running their company all fucked up, or they might have to, there's tiny bits of regulation, but not very much. There's no accountability there. And instead of them taking accountability for shit that they've fucked up, it all keeps getting pushed to the bottom to the working class. And then they feed us this propaganda and shit that you're part of their work family, and you matter, and you're doing a good job, and all of this stuff. And then the next minute, it's like, it's the carrot and the stick, back and forth. And then things like a good work ethic, showing up to work and doing your best, giving 110%. 110%. As a CEO sits on his ass collecting money off of your back, while you're not getting paid enough to barely even, like, most of the time, they don't pay enough to even, if your car breaks down, to even get it fixed. And the wages for them, for their employees, is just a drop in the bucket to them. It's like buying a pack of gum. And the shitty part of it is that there are some people, even like these local, like I'd love to shop local more, but a lot of the local places to shop or to eat at and all of that stuff, they are trying to build themselves, they're modeling off the same agenda at the end of the day. They think that I honestly don't know. I don't know if it's even purposely being done, or they've just been spoon-fed all of this shit their whole life, that they only think that a hierarchical setting is the only way to run a company, and it isn't. But liberals are brainwashed into this just as much as what conservatives are. And whenever I say liberal, I'm not talking about everything on the left, or considered the left by media and everything. I'm talking about the ones that are the standard diehard Democrats, blue no matter who people, that keep aligning with the party regardless of where the values and things of the party are going. So even while it's drifted farther and farther towards the right, leaning towards authoritarianism and shit, and has always kind of been bordering that edge anyway, they've still stuck in there with the same old rhetoric that things are going to change, that, oh, well, we couldn't do anything because we lost that election, and then, we won this election, so we got to make sure we win the next one, and then no talk in between of, well, why didn't this get done or that get done? Why is this still a thing? Why is that still a thing? Why didn't the things that the Republicans fuck up, why didn't those get fixed? Why did why were you pandering to these people to just get shit passed? Why is the other party able to get shit done whenever they get into office? Why do they throw temper tantrums and shit and constantly shut down the government and get their way? But when you do it, it's always turned back on you and you can't figure out how to fucking undo it. Like, how do you list a bunch of people as deplorables or a whole party as deplorables, and then you're incapable of doing better than fucking deplorables? But we can't talk about that because that makes the party look weak and it splinters it, and then people don't vote, and then just ignore all of the other shit. The fact that the way things are run and the way things are set up, we aren't even really voting in our president to begin with. Which became, this is the big problem with the argument of, oh, Bernie bros fucked up the election. This was being told back when Hillary lost, right? But at the same time, they touted that Hillary won the popular vote, so she should have been elected anyways, but because of the Electoral College, she didn't get it, Trump got it. Okay, so then it wasn't Bernie bros, right? What the fuck did Bernie have to do with any of that? You're saying Bernie didn't get the popular vote either, right? But why? So which is it? You know, which one is it? Did Trump win because Bernie fucked up the winnings for Hillary somehow? Or did he win because the Electoral College fucking voted him in and he didn't get the popular vote because our system's fucked up? But if our system's fucked up, then why haven't the Democrats been pushing harder to try to get that fixed, right? There's no real talk of abolishing the Electoral College and trying to do things more democratically instead of the republic way that we have things set up. But it's just another thing to tolerate, right? Until things get better. And to wrap this up, I mean, that's really, that kind of sums it up. Like, there was the song by John Mayer whenever I was a kid in school and stuff, not Your Body is a Wonderland, but Waiting on the World to Change. And I mean, dude, I know he's got pop shit and all of that, but he's a decent blues player and singer as well. The shit that didn't make it to the radio. But regardless, waiting on the world to change. We didn't get us here, basically, and we're just waiting till we're in power. And here we are. Gen X is in the seat rather than boomers, and we're still leaning far into fascism. So, I don't know. This shit's gonna come to a head. I don't think we should just tolerate it and vote party lines just to appease the heads of organizations that are shoving their money into things to try to keep their profit as high as possible because we're in a capitalist system. I think there needs to be more talk of creating better systems in place the way that we can. So if you're one of these people that it's in the middle class that actually has money and is able to start up their own business and shit, and you have other people there around you that are capable of those things, or if you even have enough money to where if you came together with a handful of people, and were able to start something up, like, it would be a good time to start trying to get more worker co-ops to exist around your areas, because the more that we keep that money local and we keep the wages fair and we start setting up models that are more successful, then the happier our society is going to be, the more that we can... So, like, they've got us trapped right now with all of the corporate capitalist elitist bullshit to where we don't even have enough time to have time to ourselves. We don't have enough time to organize things. We don't have enough time to protest things. That shit could change if we were working for ourselves, basically. And worker co-ops could work towards that, and I would recommend looking that up. There's information all over the internet about worker co-ops, and it is more successful over in Europe and has been for ages because of our extreme capitalist bullshit we've done and propaganda we have here that's helped to protect all of this elitism under just this vague thing of we're better than other countries because we've won wars or whatever fucking dumb lies we've told ourselves. There's several dumb lies that we've done that's supported this nationalist ideology. But yeah, if you've got money to be able to do things like that, start up a worker co-op. And people around you, if they've got a fair say in their wages, in the way that the company that they're working for is run, if they feel like they have fair game in this stuff, then it's less likely for shit to just go sideways and them not want to work. That's what this fictitious thing of nobody wants to work is. No, they just don't want to be treated unfairly. They want to be able to have that new car every year like you, or at least you be in the same boat as them and be trying to figure out a way to get out just as much as what the other person is. You can't put yourself in that hierarchy and try to look down on people barely below your wages or that are still struggling because of the people at the top. You need to be looking at the top with them from the bottom and try to figure out how do we get out of this. And sink or swim, either you fail together or you succeed together. But whenever people are pooling resources in the way that worker co-ops do, and you're fitting people into where they fit rather than trying to jam pieces of the puzzle in where they don't fit, and you're looking at everybody's strengths and weaknesses and how to put people in positions that fit them, the more successful your business is going to be. And by and large, worker co-ops are more successful than people just trying to start out a small business on their own. It's easier because you're splitting things up, all of the things up more equally that are involved in a business and startup and all of those things, the costs and the profits and all of it. So yeah, I might throw in a link, but I would suggest in the description I might throw in a couple links with information on worker co-ops and a few other things if I find the time. But if not, yeah, like I said, just look it up, research it, Google it. There's information out there on it. I guarantee you it doesn't take much. And there's YouTube channels and everything else that talk about worker co-ops and the pros and cons and how all of it works and the different systems, different types of worker co-ops and all of that stuff that I have less information than what more educated people on the topic do have. And so check that out. And I don't know, I always used to inform people and everything that if you're coming out of religion, you're struggling with that there is the Recovering from Religion Foundation, recoveringfromreligion.org, I believe. Dr. Darrell Ray started that up a while ago, and I believe he still comes on to the Secular Sexuality podcast every now and then, but he's an author, he's a mental health professional, and has had some awesome books and content out there, and some awesome organizations that he started. The Clergy Project's another one, and there's one for finding seculartherapy.org that has secular therapists that if there's any in your area, that it'll help you find them. So I'd recommend all of those things, looking into those resources if you feel that you need them. And there's Facebook groups for all of them, I believe, too. Check those out. Like, subscribe, and share my content. And if you have the money and are capable of doing so, please donate. I will be trying to put up my little QR code at the end of all my episodes now, and hopefully you guys can send me some Cash App money for rambling on like I do, and maybe suggest things if you want, and all of that. But I will see you on the next one. The music is by Bridge City Sinners through and through. You can find them on Spotify at bridgecitysinners.com and YouTube and just about everywhere else you can find musical content. Keep up to date with The Skeptical Satanist on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Like, subscribe, and share our content. And if you have the funds and the ability to do so, please donate to our Cash App or PayPal.
Don't say no prayers for me, 'cause I'm exactly where I want to be. Yeah, I'm a sinner through and through.
Links will be listed in the description.
Hail Satan, and hail yourselves.